Tuesday is federal budget day in Ottawa, and Indigenous stakeholders will be watching closely to see what's in this year's budget for their constituencies. Here to talk about what we may expect in tomorrow's budget is APTN Ottawa reporter Fraser Needham. Fraser, thanks for joining us. So what type of budget do you think this is going to be for Indigenous people?
Well, thanks for having me. I think we can definitely say it's going to be smaller. One reason is because basically last year they had the $23 billion child welfare compensation agreement, or settlement, so that was part of it. And also they've already committed to shaving off about $417 million in savings from both Crown Indigenous Relations and ISC in the next in the coming years. And also there's going to be about a $4.1 billion decrease in spending as some programs end. So it's definitely going to be smaller than it was last year.
And there's been a lot of talk about housing in recent weeks and the First Nations infrastructure gap. Will there be anything to address these needs for Indigenous people?
I think it's hard to say. They committed basically $6 billion for both on and off reserve housing for Indigenous people in the last couple of budgets. So, and they haven't really given any indication that that's going to change. So I don't know if there will be much new on that front. It certainly won't be anywhere sort of in the way of the needs that have been expressed already by the Auditor General. And also the AFN put out that report last week on the First Nations infrastructure gap, which is about $350 billion now to address it by 2030. So it's clear they're not going to make that target. So whatever they do pledge, it's not going to meet probably existing needs.
And what about funding for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls initiatives? Is there anything there?
I think the one new thing you may see there is more funding for a red dress alert. They put some money last year to sort of study it. There's been a lot of discussions. The government has sort of committed to that they're interested in putting some sort of system together. It's being studied in committee right now as to how that would work. But I think there may be some money for that because there's a lot of interest and a lot of people want to see that system put in place in Canada.
And I understand a number of ISC and Crown Indigenous Relations programs will be ending in the next few years. Can you tell our viewers what those are?
I can, yeah. There's a couple. One is the funding for Jordan's Principle. Also, infrastructure funding is going to end. And also, obviously, the Child and Family Services compensation agreement that's been spent already, and the Inuit Child First initiative is also spending on that's going to end. So it's kind of difficult to say how this is all going to work out. I mean, the government could put more money toward these programs ongoing after the budget. The minister, Patty Hajdu for IC, has said a number of times this is not going to affect services, that they're going to find savings and as these programs end in other areas like travel and attrition of employees, but not a lot of people have been convinced by that. So, but those are the programs that are supposed to sort of sunset in the next few years.
Well, we'll have to leave it there, but thanks again for joining us and filling us in a little bit today, Fraser.